Okay, everyone. So Dr. O'Brien is going to be a little bit late for those of you who didn't hear the announcement earlier. So we're going to shake up our agenda a little bit. We're going to just give a couple of updates in regards to recruitment or VCSQI updates, and I'll hand it over to my colleague or partner in crime, Eddie Fonner. If you wouldn't mind kicking us off, please.
Yes, ma'am. So thanks very much, Sherry. In terms of VCSQI updates, we continue to get our new member centers onboarded. So I was just checking today, we had our 21st center upload their Get With The Guidelines, or actually, sorry, it's CathPCI and ChestPain-MI data into the database. There are still, I think, 4 or 5 more centers in the queue to get in the database. So they've already signed their agreements, but they're just in the process of going through legal and uploading the data. So more to come there in terms of the database, but we continue to kind of reach our critical mass here. We're, I believe, almost at about 75% of the statewide PCI and STEMI volume. So kudos to you all, and thanks for helping us make progress there. In terms of one other VCSQI piece, and Sherry, I'll throw it back to you, is we wanted to speak to the group tonight about your interest and availability in participating in a heart failure work group, which Dr. Sulema Zimba from UVA has helped to spearhead. There's a group of about 8 to 10 cardiologists last week who met to basically speak to their different practices and experiences dealing with acute heart failure and shock patients across the Commonwealth. And it seems like there's really interest in building a quality initiative and a referral network for those patients. So with Dr. Mazimba's guidance, we are going to create a new VCSQI work group, and it seemed like it would dovetail nicely. It would fit in really nicely with the work that we're doing in VHAC. So we wanted to give a plug for that, and hopefully have Dr. Mazimba on one of these calls here too in the near future. Sherry, anything else to add about the heart failure group?
No, I think you covered it nicely. We haven't yet picked a schedule or the reoccurrence or frequency of the meeting, but we do know that there is value in collaboration. And so that this is one of the efforts, so this is something that focuses more so on cardiology. I think that this will probably be our first work group dedicated to a cardiology outcome, if you will. So if there's any interest, please let me know. But we will also formally send an inquiry out, soliciting other people who may want to participate. We'll have more information from Dr. Mazimba after next Friday when we will meet and determine the direction for the work group. But if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, we are always excited to hear them. All right. And so with that said, let me share my screen. And actually, before I start, did anyone get a chance to review the minutes from March? Is there any revisions, edits, or what screen I'm sharing? Any revisions or edits that you may have for the minutes? And if not, can I get an approval, please?
Cindy, I approve.
Thank you, my dear. Can I get a second, please? Or I mean, is that bad? Anyone willing to give a second for the approval?
Second to approve.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kelly. All right, so moving on next, let's have some regional reporting, and I will load the screen. And then just a repeat announcement, Dr. O'Brien is running a little bit late due to an urgent situation, but he will be joining us shortly. So I'm going to share my screen for the regional reporting.
So does that mean, Sherry, I get to report?
Yes, you're the lucky winner today. All right, and I think so.
Megan's on also, so
Okay.
we will collaborate with this.
Okay, perfect. All right, and we have Southern up first.
Okay, so I think our last meeting was April 6th. And we had 13 in attendance. Our next meeting is June 1. Our FMC to balloon is 70 minutes. Number of shock patients per last quarter. I believe this is fourth quarter.
Yes, it's Q4. I'll have new shock next meeting.
Okay, so thank you, Megan, for that. So we had 5 patients. Number and percent with lactate measure is 100%. Great job. And number and percentage with CPO calculate is 2 out of 5, so we're 40%. And this involves Centra LGH, our hub for everything, and then Central Gretna, Bedford, Southside, and Halifax. I think that's all we really have. Just looking at what we're really trying to, I guess, data abstract in this world. Do we need to continue to abstract pre-hospital EKGs on everyone or just on STEMIs, just putting it out there for anyone who's interested in that discussion? I think that's end of our report. Megan, you have anything else?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, great. So thanks, Sherry.
Thank you. And if there's no questions for Southern, we have Western up. Is there any takers on the line to give an update?
Hi, Sherry. This is Melanie. I can review this. We had our last meeting on April the 4th. That was on a Tuesday evening. We had 18 in attendance. This was done in a virtual format. Our next meeting will be July the 13th. We at our meeting in April, there were 5 regional hospitals that were represented at the meeting, as well as representatives from our Western EMS Council. And we are planning for our upcoming meetings to be held in a live, I guess, hybrid option with the virtual option available. And we're going to try to go back to alternating locations that we had done pre-pandemic between Carilion Run at Memorial Hospital and Lewis Gale Salem. And we are going to go with a lunchtime meeting for our first one and hope that we can entice some more EMS personnel to come. We had pretty good turnout from our EMS folks pre-pandemic when we did it around 12. So that's what we're hoping for this time. Although, when I looked at the calendar, it's like, oh gosh, July is like, a very heavy vacation time. So I hope that doesn't impact our attendance, but we're hoping to, again, get some more of our EMS folks there. Our first medical contact to device time, balloon time, as you can see, site A, B, and C, 79, and 93. And we're still working on getting our data available across the region for our shock numbers there.
Thank you so very much.
You are so welcome. And I'm not sure, I see Dr. Kelly on the line. I'm not sure if there's anybody else from our Western region on. Oh, Luann, Janie is on. But do you all have any other comments regarding our meeting or anything from Western?
Great summary, Melanie. I agree with you.
Thanks, Luann.
No other comments. So do you know what we're trying to do to get the recordings for the lactate and CPO?
Well, it's some of our hospitals in the region don't use a third-party vendor such as ARMIS, and it's they're working out the details on how they can do their data collection more manually than others that use ARMIS. So we're hoping for, when first quarter rolls around with the NCDR, that we'll have that available.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Kelly.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, up next we have Northern. I do not see Ray or Dr. Tarani online, but this is a report out that he provided. The most recent daughter balloon time for ANOVA is listed here, and this is from third quarter.
Sherry, we do have Shirley on the line,
Quickly.
not to throw you into the fire, Shirley, but anything you want to add?
You ready?
No, not really, Eddie. Because of all of our transitioning and everything to this outside abstraction and everything, I haven't been really involved in this, and I'm not sure if Ray is getting these, to tell you the truth, from, oh, it does say CAF PCI. So, but hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll be able to clean this up and get back on track again.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Shirley.
Sure.
And just an update from the Northern region, Dr. Tarani and Ray are working to develop to test it out with the Northern region first as it relates to shock. So we're still underway or in the process of arranging that meeting. There's been a little bit of turnover as it relates to CAF PCI directors in some facilities. And so we're just working just to make sure we have the more appropriate list or up-to-date list. So we can go ahead and schedule that meeting, but likely it's looking like we're not going to have that meeting scheduled until May. All right, and Dr. O'Brien just joined us. Hello, Dr. O'Brien.
Hello, sorry I'm late. I had an urgent other meeting, but I got away from that, so thank you for holding down the fort.
No problem. I was invoking my inner Dr. O'Brien, so I think I did okay. All right, and up next we have our Northwest region, and let's see if anyone from that group is on the line.
Hi, this is Nancy.
Hey,
I'm on the
Nancy.
line. Hey there. So for Northwestern, we haven't had any meetings, none are scheduled. We don't really have anyone to coordinate that, unfortunately. We reported our Q4 data in, let's see, February. So we were trying to round up Q1 2023 data for the median FMC to device, but most sites are still working on it. So we thought we'd try to report that out at the next meeting. And as far as shock, we haven't had any takers on that yet, except for us at UVA. And we had, in Q1, we had 5 shock patients. We measured a lactate on all of them and a CPO on none of them. So they were all, we had 4 of them were STEMIs, they were all cardiac arrest patients, and 4 were STEMIs and then STEMI. So I guess down below you see the hospitals involved, which brings up a question. I see Kat is part in the meeting. Kat is, Prince William is part of UVA now, but I guess they would be maybe in the Northern District, physically located. So I wonder where that data would go. I mean, she would be working with the EMS people up there. You know what I mean? And their data part of UVA. So Kat, you might be able to speak to that.
Yeah, we would probably fall in under Northern because we compete with Inova Fairfax. So I would say we would fall in under Ray Watley. And I haven't heard from him as yet. I'll probably reach out to him later this week and talk to him about it.
Okay, I didn't know whether to include you there with us or not. You're certainly welcome, but yeah, it makes sense.
And Kat, I'll start an email between you, Ray, and Dr. Tarani just to incorporate you into the group.
I really appreciate that, Sherry.
No problem. Okay, and that is the last of our reported, completions of the JOT form. For Eastern, is there any representation from Eastern on the line who wants to give a report out? Dr. Heiser and Shelley was not able to attend, but just wanted to see, was there anyone from the Eastern region who wanted to give a report out?
I've been communicating with Justin. I know last meeting he had a late case, but he declined or wasn't able to make it this time either.
Sounds good. I do know as far as their data was nothing new to report from what they reported at the last meeting.
Okay. Do you want to report out our email conversation? I think we had his action item was to get back in touch with Norfolk Fire. And he had mentioned that there was a new meeting bringing in, I guess, that or EMS data and STEMI that he was going to be a part of. Can you jog my memory on that?
Very good question. Let me bring that up. Any minute, 6 minutes into a regular meeting.
Sherry, while you're doing that, I just want to go back to Northwestern again. Nancy, I am, to be quite candid, I'm sort of running out of ideas how to improve our engagement among Northwest in terms of the physician leaders. I had some conversations with Larry Gimple and some others, who are just spread super thin, and I think everybody is, but I'm up for anybody else to hit up and to cold call about getting you some help. You've done an incredible job carrying the ball for that region. But we've got 5 great centers up there, and you can imagine we'd have a very robust shock STEMI engaged regional system if we could somehow make this work.
Yeah, you're right. I know when Kayla was heading it up, she would get everyone together, and I forget the name of the physician up there in Winchester, but he was very engaged also. And of course, when we had Dr. Burt, you guys were teammates, for a long time, but yeah, he's gone. And as you said, everybody we approach is just spread so thin, but I'm sure no more thin than you are spread. But, and I honestly, all I've been doing is just reaching out to try to get the data from the sites, and some are pretty good and a couple others are a little harder to get it from. So I don't know, with our meetings, when we were actually having meetings, they had fallen off too. The participation had become very poor. I don't know what to do really. The enthusiasm had died, and so we ended up, I guess during COVID, we were just having a few virtual meetings, and basically just one person from each hospital was what it ended up being, and nobody from EMS, it seemed like. So I don't know how to light a fire or who to try to light it under.
Yeah.
This is Cindy. I'm just wondering, is it worth a site visit? You think, Pete, maybe we could do just a thought to sort of help be your support?
I think that would be great. I mean, if we could think of, because we had done that in the past, given a lecture about VHAC, VCSQI, generally on invitation of somebody, but I don't know if there's a proper forum. I gave a VHAC grand rounds to the UVA Department of Cardiology, but this is going back 10 years ago. And that seemed to spark a lot of interest at the time. Does UVA have regular STEMI meetings or a chest pain council that's still operative? That's what you're referring to as sort of died?
Oh, no, that's not what I was referring to. I was talking about our VHAC meetings.
Okay.
No, we, within our hospital, yeah, we have a really active program. I was talking about our VHAC meetings, with representatives from different hospitals. At UVA, we have an ACS QST where we do STEMI reviews, every month. And then there's a quarterly M&M for cardiology division-wide where some STEMI data is also presented. So it's very much on the front burner with us. But as far as hospitals, getting together, I don't know if there's anybody at Augusta Health. Anybody there maybe who would spearhead it for our region? Or Centera Rockingham is another one, and Winchester.
It's
and
Mike.
Martha Jeff.
It's
Martha
Mike
Jeff.
Contest. Do you know who are the cath lab directors? I'm assuming we've talked to them, tried to engage them for each of the hospitals. That might be a potential place to start.
Yeah, Mike Augusta is for UVA. I don't see that happening.
Mhm.
I don't know the cath lab. Maybe Josh Fisher. Maybe Josh Fisher would be interested at Martha Jeff.
Yeah, I know Josh from, he and I were at UVA together. And he had been involved in the ACC in the past. And that's
He
usually,
does come. He comes to our TGEMS meetings fairly often. So, you know, he's involved, interested in EMS
well,
relationships.
that's great. Let me reach out to Josh. Yeah, that's a good way to start. And but we're always happy to do a road show. Actually, David Burr used to call the STEMI road shows back in the day. You may remember those, always fun.
Oh, yeah.
Little quirky, but always fun. And but I miss that kind of energy. Well, we'll start with Josh. Dr. Chawla, he's not on the call right now, right? From Winchester.
No.
He was a very promising lead that I think had joined us about 6 months ago, and I've emailed him as well. But anyway, I'll start with Josh. So that'll be my to-do item.
I think he would be a good one. Yeah.
Great guy and a good leader.
Yes. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for everything you're doing.
It's minimal.
Well, you're keeping the flame lit in a dark time, but
Keeping the pilot light going.
that's right.
That's about it. Hopefully I don't run out of gas, right?
All right, Sherry, were you, if not, I can look for.
Oh,
Mike.
I did find the email, and I just lost it again, but pretty much exactly what you said. Dr. Heiser, he did identify another regional meeting that addresses STEMI care. He just started to be included in those meetings, but he still needs to do some navigation. So he's going to find out more and bring it back to the group.
Okay, and he was talking to Dr. Badai.
Yes.
Okay, he runs the shock program. It must be at Centera, Norfolk. Okay. All right, good. So again, I know Justin wanted to be on, but he's been in the cath lab for at least the last meeting. We know how that can go.
Yes. Not to worry.
Okay.
And last, yeah, I think
Yes,
the last, oh, go ahead. Oh, Dr. Contos, would you like to give an update for Central?
I don't have anything real new to add. We're hoping that with the joining of Bon Secours with the VCSQI, we'll have some data hopefully in the next quarter. We do have our quarterly meeting next week, so hopefully we'll have some more updates after that.
Hey,
Sounds
Dr.
good.
Contos, I know that we're not officially in yet with Bon Secours, but is there any way that some of the Bon Secours participants here could get an invite to that meeting, please?
Yeah.
That'd be
Without a
great.
doubt.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
hi, Mike
forward
and
it to
Peter.
you.
This is Manu Kaushik from St. Mary's Sponsor Course.
Okay,
So I think we are actually going to be launching our city-wide or region-wide Bon Secours interventional council, and the first meeting is supposed to be on the 9th of May. And I think we are trying to orient all hospitals and all interventional cardiologists, to the participation that we're going to have with VHAC and VCSQI. So hopefully going forward, we're going to be a little bit more, we'll have probably more complete data. We do have some issues with the, a little short-handed on personnel. So I think maybe in the next 1 to 2 quarters, we'll see more improved, submission of data and completion of data as well.
terrific. And Manu, can you tell the group, I think they'd be very interested about the work that you did was it in Wisconsin?
Yeah, so basically, prior to joining my current practice out of St. Mary's, I was at Medical College of Wisconsin, one of the associate program directors over there, and we had a pretty large regional referral system, which was sort of, I'd say, was serving as a level 1 trauma center, as well as, the regional shock center for most of southeastern Wisconsin. So we'll have basically patients flown in all the way from about 200 miles north. And it was sort of a coordinated effort between the cardiothoracic surgery program, of course, the interventional cardiology program, and a lot of, the subsidiary health centers that we had all the way across in the state. So I was a part of that, shock program, and I think hope to, going forward, create a similar sort of regionalized system in Richmond. I know that I think from here on, we're going to see probably more participation from the HCA facilities as well. I think Richmond traditionally seems to have been a more sort of, I'd say, segmented market. Probably it's the best word, but I think going forward, assuming, we can all get our act together and also start working together with the ambulance services or the EMS services in a more coordinated fashion, I think we can improve some of the outcomes, which it seemed like previously were not up to the mark. I think hopefully I can meet with Mike in person in the next few weeks. And one of the other issues that we have generally faced out of Richmond market is that, the EMS services over here, there are like multiple smaller EMS services across town, and based on what county you're in, everybody works a little bit differently. So I think going forward, we can have probably a plan working with Mike and other people to get a more coordinated effort to improve our outcomes here.
Well, that's, yeah, fantastic. You and I had a great conversation about that, and this is exactly the kind of leadership and help that we need. So very, very excited, and thank you so much for participating and joining us. All right, Sherry, what else?
For now, before I kick it over to you, just like another push for any regional leads, representations, alternatives that are not yet, roles that have not yet been filled. So there's a couple of different regions that we still are looking for, either an alternative or primary to help to lead the charge for your region. So continue to do the push. If there's anything that we can do to help in this regard, just please let us know. And now, Dr. O'Brien, the topic of discussion is our September 14th meeting.
Yes, so that's what we need to sort out. I'm sorry, did someone? That's what we need to sort out. So just going back, sorry, can you go back to that leadership? So this is open. This is if you reach out to Sherry and I, if you see an opening that you're interested in, if I think there may be a few names, as we've discussed, where the designated primaries and alternates are not terribly engaged at the moment. So we're up for suggestions in that regard as well. So anyway, we don't have to go, through this point by point tonight and say, hey, kick this person off. I want that role. But you can certainly contact Sherry and I if you, if you feel like, hey, I'm really interested in this. I'm attending these things regularly. I know I want to stay engaged. And is there an opening for me there? It's just, I think it's become pretty evident that we just need to have go-to people in every region. It doesn't mean that you have to make absolutely every single meeting and other things aren't going to come up professionally or personally or yada, yada. But it's just so important, as we said, to kind of keep the flame lit in each region. And historically, looking back, what's interesting about VHAC in the past, since, the past 15 years, we have had some regions that were dead for a while and now are super active. And we've had regions that literally published papers on their STEMI activities that we can't get a lot of engagement from now. So this is always in a state of flux, and it's always going to be a challenge. It's people have other stuff to do. People leave. A lot of our best champions have left, have moved on to other states or retired. So we're always, if you'll see, if you stick with us, this is going to continuously be a challenge for us, is keeping a leadership team in each one of those regions. But anyway, so reach out to Sherry and I offline and let me know your thoughts. Very good. Can you put the agenda up again, if you would? And I just want to see. So you guys really covered everything up to this point. So the statewide meeting, I don't have an answer. We've been kicking this around for a while. The challenge is this: in the pre-COVID era, we had a wonderful in-person meeting that would go from 8 AM to 3:30. That was heavily attended by EMS, to some degree by cardiology and ED. And that was that. So we had a pretty diverse audience, very EMS focused, but also physician and nursing focused, and it worked great. Along comes COVID. I doubt we're going to get the same degree of in-person attendance. I think that's here to stay, hybrid meetings. But now, to make matters more interesting and complicated, we're going to meld this with the September VCSQI meeting, which is a net positive because it's going to bring in a lot more engagement and excitement and energy into this. But now we have to, so the VCSQI meetings, typically there's kind of a late afternoon board meeting and things really kick off around dinner time. I don't know that people have the stamina to go from 8 AM to 7 PM. I certainly can do that. It's a lot of fun, but I don't know if that's going to meet the needs. So the first question to answer is the start and stop time, how we meet the needs of our typical VHAC audience and how we meet the needs of VCSQI coming together. I think the topics won't be that hard from a VHAC standpoint, shock standpoint. I think we already have speakers and topics from our last call that I think people are pretty excited about. But how do we meld that again with the surgical stakeholders that come in for VCSQI? So, Mike, let me start with you since you're a veteran of 15 years of VHAC meetings. But I'll open it up to everybody, of course. I don't know if you're on. There you go.
Yeah, I was on mute. I can't always. My coordination apparently is off. I think it's going to be somewhat difficult to do. One thought I had was rather than doing a 8 AM to 3 PM meeting, if we started in the afternoon, would be a reasonable way to go. I think trying to figure out what our target audiences are going to be would be important. And in the past, when we did our VHAC meetings, we often targeted things that were of interest to across acute cardiology, but also included a fair amount of EMS information to make sure that they were engaged. And I think that would be important to do. We had previously always tagged this with Mission Lifeline Awards for EMS systems, which I think was always well received. And I apologize, I'm not even, since we've not been involved with AHH much, whether they're still doing the Mission Lifeline Awards would be another thing to include. And I think one thought just came to my mind would be to, we have a pretty good network, I think, across the areas of the different EMS directors. What do they think would be helpful for their crews? Do they want to get back to an all-day meeting? If we go virtual, I think trying to keep people engaged all day is often going to be fairly difficult. So those were some initial thoughts. If we wanted to do something more pertinent to the acute care EMS things, systems of at least one talk on systems of care, including some of the things we talked about before: STEMI, shock, cardiac arrest, and new things like aortic dissection, pulmonary embolism, I think would be helpful to include. All of those are acute cardiovascular emergencies. They all start with EMS. And in many cases, the initial triage process is going to be very similar: assess for underlying conditions, stabilization, and determine the appropriate location for them to go. Might be one topic that we could kind of include that would be a broad representation and would meld with some of the prior VHAC, some of the prior VCSQI talks that we had done that maybe would be of interest to our EMS people that they may not have heard before, because we did the meetings in the evening rather during the day.
Just reading some of the comments, all very apropos. The only thing I will say is, surprisingly, our experience with Mike, I think we did not have a lot of luck with continuing education. Or did we? And it was CME that fell flat. We offered something, it was hard to get it, and then not many people availed themselves of it. But I don't know if that may have been CME. I think it's easier for physicians to get CME than it is for EMS to get CEU. So that's a side question, but let's handle that now while we're thinking about it.
I mean, the one thing I do remember from those talks, and perhaps we could dig out the surveys, it always seemed very well attended by EMS. That was maybe 70% of the audience, 10 to 20% nursing, small proportion administration, small proportion of cardiology. So really all front end people, not very much of the other areas. And I think that just in part has to do that it was a in-person conference. It was trying to pull people in across the state and also was held during the day. I think that's one of the differences of the VCSQI of an evening talk. And that's why I was thinking rather than we want to get more broad representation outside of EMS and include cardiology and emergency medicine, it would have to be either smaller time periods or targeted more toward the afternoon in which people could be make themselves probably more available. And again, I'm not sure what the right answer is. I think, like you said, EMS really enjoyed the conferences we had before. Is this something that would be a success again, or would it be different now that we're kind of in the post-COVID virtual world for many of these things?
Well, I think we need, for starters, we potentially have 4 VCSQI meetings a year. So if we had to sort of choose, do we want to appeal more to EMS or do we want to appeal more to cardiology and cardiothoracic surgery? I would err on the EMS side. And philosophically, because they're the most important group, they're the backbone of VHAC. So I think the main character or spirit of our meeting, would stick with that. I guess we could look into continuing it again. I would probably forego CME. I just remember that being a lot of work for very little gain. So people just didn't avail themselves of it. And in terms of talks, Sherry, do you have the document that showed the original talks that we were going to give? Looks like something happened with a yellow crayon there. Am I the only one seeing that?
It's an annotation on the Zoom. I'm trying to figure out how to clear that.
I just want to make sure I wasn't having a visual disturbance and need to go to the ER. So while we're pulling that up, and now whether we can finish this meeting or we put on the next meeting, Mike, I really like the idea of like a rapid fire EMS cardiac emergency roundtable, because we've done long, discussions of aortic, and we did pulmonary emboli, things like that. I guess aortic was during VCSQI, but if we said, all right, here it is, guys and gals, it's PE, 15 minutes on that. This is what you got to look for. Aortic dissection, this is what you look for. STEMI, this is what you look for. And then maybe we could figure something else out. So that's one option. John Patterson was going to present STEMI cases, one that went really well, I think, and one that didn't go well. Those bread and butter cases are always popular. It's been several years, so we're going to have probably a lot of new faces. We were going to have a talk. Was it Gary Davis? We were going to have a talk on a fairly well-known, acclaimed EMS speaker about EMS retention and burnout.
Bob Page.
Bob Page. Okay, so let me suggest this right now, so we can come to some decisions tonight. Let's finalize the talks, get a general sense of how long it's going to take, and then decide whether we just go 8 to 3 and hang on to our traditional audience, or whether we go noon to 7:30. Right, so that may be 2 choices: go 8:30 to 3:30, and if you're a glutton for punishment, hang with us till 7:30. If not, we start lunchtime, let people travel in the morning, and then go until 7:30. So let's look at the talks first, if we got that document handy. Probably the minutes from last time.
Megan's got a good suggestion in the chat too. Sherry, can we do like a survey on Zoom just on those two options for the meeting formats?
Ah. Good. And Sherry's screen is frozen. I don't know if we've lost contact. That may be it. Okay, so I think at least we can, I would say yes on to your suggestions, everyone, about CE.
Okay, I'm partially here.
Okay, great.
All right, I'm gonna launch a poll. For format.
Sherry, a question for you. How easy is it for you to arrange the CE and CME part? Since when we were doing it before, it was kind of us trying to figure it out, but I think you're much more of an expert than we ever were.
Actually, I'm still learning from Eddie. So Eddie is the one. So we have been working with VCU to get our CME credits. We are in the beginning process of completing the application for this year. And Eddie, I will let you fill in the rest of the blanks.
It's typically not that painstaking of a process. In the past, VCSQI used to offer just CEUs, and that was super easy. I think we did that with ACVP, one of the local outfits, but anybody can issue those. Then we started to issue CMEs. It was a few years back, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Typically, it's pretty easy. There's a little bit of a lead time requested or needed for the application process. And right now, like Sherry said, we're still getting approved for this year. So we would just have to put in an application a few months in advance. Like Dr. O'Brien said, we haven't really had as many people claiming CMEs. Typically it's just a handful, maybe 3 to 5 per meeting. Even if we get 50 attendees in a meeting, it's just a few folks who are actually claiming them by filling out an online survey and getting the credits. That said, for the CMEs, there is like a dual eligibility or dual equivalency. So like you can claim a CME and then use that as a CEU in their system. You just need to request some certificate of equivalency or conversion, something like that. So a CME is more flexible. It's also more expensive. So there are options there, but typically the CMEs haven't been as big of a pull for the docs.
Okay. And I'm sorry, because I went out for a moment. Can you tell me what the 2 options to offer for the poll for the preferred format? All day, starting at 8 a.m.?
8:30 to 3:30, noon to 7:30. Well, everybody knows kind of what we're getting at, but 8:30 to 3:30 with an option to stay till 7:30. Which gives us a full regular VHAC day. And then some of the audience will stay, I think, on, eat something and stay on till 7:30. The other is noon to 7:30. Which means that the VCSQI stuff would have to come, normally, that's at 4, right? The board meeting?
Yeah, but everyone will have to stay until about 5:30 to start. Yeah, so that'd be a 2-hour wait.
That's a good question. I mean, I guess we could probably adjust the board meeting in the schedule since it's a once a year VHAC day.
Yeah, we can definitely be flexible there. And last time, I think the board is about 75% virtual anyway.
All right, so let's go with that.
Okay. Are you able to see where is the poll? Okay, I'm gonna launch this poll. I hope this makes sense.
And I hate to complicate things, but there could be a third option here as well if we do move the board meeting, which would be starting maybe around 10. You go like 10 to 5, and then have our VCSQI evening meeting and we don't have the board that day. Sorry to throw a wrench.
Sherry, can you start it again?
Sure.
But looks like 8:30 to 3:30 is more popular than the noon to 7:30.
All right.
Not to tip anybody's hand, I guess.
Okay, so that was the one. So now I can start the other one.
So Eddie, this will be in person, probably in Charlottesville.
Charlottesville or Richmond, we've had trouble with the Boar's Head just getting a space there. I've spoken with them a couple times and they haven't been very responsive. The venue in Richmond worked out really well last time, so I might recommend we go there if that wouldn't be too hard for everybody, but we're open. We could try a new venue as well. Just
Yeah, I forget where we had in one of the academic buildings years ago at UVA. It was pretty nice setup. I can't remember what.
Eddie, please give me your option again. 10:30 to
10 to 5 and then the 5:30 PCSQI.
I hate that to keep typing this.
Megan has a question about how many participants are expected. Dr. Bryan, I mean, I think in years past, haven't there been, 50-ish at the VHAC state meetings?
Actually, we were somewhere between 95 and 115. Yeah, it was pretty big.
That's huge.
And one question to ask her too, does any facility still have a ban on travel or, within your institutions? I mean, even though it's in a state, but just leaving campus for meetings? Is that even an issue anymore?
Not for us.
Oh, shoot.
For us,
Well,
I think the meeting ban is they won't pay for anything for you to go anywhere. The other thought I should have thrown out earlier before we started on these polls is one consideration. If you're doing a noon meeting, and you have people traveling, it does save them a night in a hotel room. So it's just if you're coming from 2 or 3 hours away, it potentially could do that.
Yeah. Okay. I am about to launch the poll again. Have 3 different options. Is there another option before I launch this? All right. Here we go. And I hope it's showing. Nope. Launch. Any last minute takers? We have 14 responses so far. Going once, going twice. All right, here's the final results.
Interesting. So now 8:30 to 3:30 is the least popular. Is there anybody, I don't want to reopen it for you. Was there any of the remaining 6 or 7 folks on the call?
That voted?
Yeah, so we got 13 out of 22.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of people did not vote.
All right, so
Do you have the poll results again? I can't see it.
Yeah, so we had 7% who chose 8:30 to 3:30, and that was just one person. We have 50% who chose noon to 5:30. I'm sorry, noon to 5, and then going into the VCSQI meeting. And then we have 43% that chose 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and then rolling into the VCSQI meeting at 5:30. So the winner was noon to 5, a 1 vote difference.
Just a thought, I don't think the people on a phone call that I've dialed in have the ability to vote. I wonder if
Okay.
that may have skewed things.
Yeah, because statistically, we're kind of a dead heat between noon.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. We know that nobody wants to do the 8:30 to 3:30. So, not nobody, sorry to the people that voted for that.
Not many.
What's that?
Not many people want to do that.
That's right. So can you pull up the talks from?
Yeah, I'm still looking for that, Dr. O'Brien. I'm so sorry. I'm still searching for that.
Okay, let me see. It should be in the meeting minutes from last time.
And it's not there. I could have sworn I put it in there. This is a part of old age when it happens to you, I tell you. Well, no, that's not it. Still looking for it because I know I prepared a pretty document. One more way. So I know we were talking about Bob Page as being an initial one. Dr. Patterson was going to do some case studies. Dr. Tarani was doing shock.
Okay. All right, well, that's okay. You don't have to have, I was just, you did prepare a nice document. I was just thinking, and I forgot about that. I was just thinking about the rough sketch. So let's bring that, what you started to type on this meeting up. And because I think we have most of them already. We've got to see what actually works. Because we have to give people 10-minute breaks periodically. You always have to budget more time. One thing we learned is to stay on time, and I'm just a fanatic about staying on time because I think it respects people's schedules and time. We always spread it out, and it looks like we're being too lenient with the time, and then we just finished right at 3:30. Is that it? Oh,
This was an email. I didn't see a document, but this looked pretty close.
That's why.
that's good. Yeah, that's
Okay.
great.
Thank you, Eddie. What would I do without you? I'll pay you later.
So what do we, I would definitely keep John Patterson's talk in there. I would keep the shock talk in there and the EMS engagement. Like those three, I think there was, from the last discussion, there was a lot of enthusiasm for that. ECMO we can do now, and we can always do this at another meeting. I don't know if we're going to have time for ECMO. I think Benham was going to talk, and we can see what he wants to do. I think he couldn't be here tonight because it's the end of Ramadan, I believe. But we talked offline about this. So ECMO, Stroke Smart, I think maybe we could put those aside. The Pulsera demo, we can talk about that. We have generally avoided direct industry. Well, we did have sponsorship, but we generally try to keep this sort of industry free. But we have a couple of systems in Virginia that swear by Pulsera, and their systems have gotten much better because of Pulsera, and we really can't ignore that. So we could just do a quick intro to Pulsera. I don't think there's any relevant competitors on the market right now that I'm aware of. I've seen some come and go. Just a disclaimer, disclosure, Forrest Winslow is working for Pulsera. He used to be our champion in the Northwestern region. He's a EMS phenomenal individual. And I've told Forrest, honestly, Forrest asked to come to some other meetings. I mean, it was totally above board. He said, and I said, I don't, in the past, we have not invited them to give a presentation, and he agreed because he was just kind of stepping out of his VHAC role. But I think now the people have spoken, and I know that some of the Pulsera systems really want to get this out in front of, and shoot, if it makes FMC to balloon times better, that's a good thing. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on where we are now. So so John Patterson, EMS engagement, shock, Pulsera, and then maybe cardiac emergency rapid fire roundtable. Those 5. I'll just throw that out there. See what
Yeah, I think Peter, things like Pulsara may be really useful for systems like us where, we are still having some discoordination between EMS and, getting the transmissions over to the treating teams. So I think it'll be definitely something which there may be more than a few people who might be interested in.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we have 4 minutes to set the agenda. And we can do this offline too. I just want to get pretty close to it. And now we have 3 minutes, no pressure.
There's, Pete, since our last VHAC meeting, there's been a wide variety of interesting clinical trials that have come up. It may be useful to pick or do 45 minutes and do 7 minutes on each one, or come up with some topics that discuss things that are acute cardiology that also may cross the EMS fields that we think they would be interested in hearing about.
Yeah, that's a good point. We always did a quick update, and EMS and a lot of people like to hear, especially, honestly, they like to hear from the physicians on those topics and say, hey, give me 5 or 10 minutes on per study on 3 or 4 major studies since ACC and AHA.
There's at least 3 or 4 studies that have looked at immediate cath for non-STEMI cardiac arrest. There's 3 ECMO studies that have been come out with for cardiac arrest. I'm sure there are other areas that would be pertinent.
Okay.
Yeah, I think hypothermia or targeted temperature management, those kind of things.
Okay. Would you guys mind taking the lead on those?
Sure.
Sure, I can present part of it if you want to.
Great, thank you.
If you have any, I can do the pericarditis or pericardial effusion topic or tamponade topic if you want to do a short brief run on acute cardiac emergencies.
Okay, so maybe that'll be number 4. PE, aortic, STEMI, pericardial emergencies. I mean, I think it'd be good to hear about sort of basic, STEMI mimic pericarditis or I actually gave a tamponade lecture to Blue Ridge GMS about a year ago, and it was well received. So that'd be great. All right, so Sherry, maybe what we can do offline, since we're going to wrap up now, is we can kind of fit those, and you and I have a meeting tomorrow, so maybe we can touch on that, but let's see how we fit that into, so we're fitting that into 5 hours with ample time for Q&A and also bathroom and coffee breaks.
Okay. I'll put something together for us to talk about tomorrow.
Okay, terrific. In our final minute here, any other major issues we need to think about? We could certainly look into that, Megan, nursing CEs. Yep. I say we, sorry, Sherry and Eddie. The royal we, I guess. But that's that would be great. Okay, terrific. Well, I don't have anything else. And this was a very productive meeting. Thank you, everybody. We have a lot of work to do, but I'm excited. And Mike, did you want to say something? You look like you went active there.
Nope.
2 new messages. Okay. Yes, thank you guys. Great. Well, have a good evening, and we will talk again next month. And again, feel free to reach out to us offline with leadership suggestions and suggestions for the state meeting. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good evening.